So I consider myself a pretty put together person. And that's not to say I'm like immaculately so. But I tend to be pretty organized. I tend to be pretty type A about things. I like to be on task, on schedule. But a somewhat devious tendency then is that I can sometimes think that I'm being efficient when I'm actually not. For example, if you saw my video last week about how I was having a hard time with writing and wanting to get some writing done, I had to take a moment and realize that maybe my inability to write wasn't just the creative process, but it was the fact that I was letting myself get distracted. When I actually took the time to think about it, I realized that those writing sessions were often interrupted, and that was actually getting me off track. And sure, there is an element of early phase writing where you have to let your brain do what it does and figure stuff out and go for walks, etc. But I wasn't necessarily creating an environment that was conducive to that either. I was checking social media, I was answering emails as soon as they came in. So on the surface, things like answering emails and messages looks like it's me being efficient and timely and responsive, etc., etc. But I was letting them deter me from focusing on my larger task, which was to actually get some writing done. And when I think about it, I have been in situations like on retreats or in residencies where I am isolated with just my writing instruments, and I'm able to get stuff done whether I'm in a specific brain space or not. Just letting myself be isolated without distractions can lend itself to product. So I think part of the issue was when I'm at home in this office, this is where I do all of my work, all of my admin stuff, all of my emails, and my writing. And therefore, when it was time to write, I wasn't limiting my brain to just focus on the writing. I was letting these other things happen. So I did a few things in the past week that actually lent itself to me having a productive writing session. And these things are so basic, it's nothing new, but I needed to actually enforce them upon myself. The first thing I did was I would designate a length of time that I wanted to write, whether that was an hour, 30 minutes, an hour and a half, and I would say that this time is just for writing, regardless of anything else that tries to come my way. And to help that, I turned my phone onto airplane mode, which is like, duh, we have this ability to do that, so why wasn't I using it? And that way I was able to just filter out any noise that might happen to come my way, whether that's calls or messages. And it meant I wasn't allowed to check social media during that time. I also turned off receiving messages via my laptop. I have Apple products, so I use iMessage, and I was using my laptop to respond to some texts. Basically, I shut off all notifications related to texting so that my laptop wasn't pinging if my phone happened to be in airplane mode. And another thing that I did, because when I'm working, especially working on songwriting, I need to have open a thesaurus and a rhyming dictionary, and I usually use the ones that you can find online. What I have done in the past is have these tabs open in the same window where my email is. So as I'm working and using the dictionary and thesaurus, I might happen to click over to my email and check to see if I received anything. Well, I stopped doing that by having the thesaurus and dictionary be in their own window, just those two tabs and no other windows to try to distract me. I will say if I were working on a play right now, I would go elsewhere. If I didn't need to be here with my keyboard to figure out some song, chords, melodies, I would go to a cafe or even to another room to get myself out of this office to focus better on writing. But when I am working on a musical piece, I need to be here, I need to have my piano. So I tried this out this week, shutting off these distractions, and I think it was a pretty good call. It's just funny because it's one of those things where you think you've already learned this lesson and of course you should do this, but because writing projects, especially musicals, happen in phases, whenever you have to come back to the beginning of a project, you kind of have to relearn some of the habits because you might have been working on the later part for another project. So all that to say, I am still learning how to not let myself get distracted. I also read up that there are these apps that will shut off certain notifications or applications that you might have on your phone or laptop. I don't think I need to be that extreme, but it might be helpful for some folks out there to look into those. And I've also heard and experienced that meeting up with others to write in a silent space is helpful because you have built-in accountability by having other people there. Again, when I'm working on a musical, I can't really do that, but when I am working on a play, I will sometimes go to a writer's room that is here in the East Bay to just focus on writing. So I feel much better than I felt last week, and fingers crossed I will be able to get some more writing done so I can get this first draft out the gate. There are only 5 more vlogs to go after this one to finish out my year of vlogging, and that's pretty exciting, if a little odd to realize. But yeah, I still don't quite know yet what my plan is after I finish the year of vlogging, but hopefully I'll get some more clarity once we actually reach vlog number 52. Regardless of all that though, I will see you next week.